So gali swagweg yego sioni e. So hello everyone. We are going to talk about the O stem, subjective and objective pronouns today. We will talk about the patterns and learn a little bit more about the O stem. This will help you get familiar with the third set of stem or the third verb category in Oneida. So again, today we are going to cover the O stem. So let's get started. So learners should know the O stem subjective and objective pronouns. They should know the associated meanings of the pronouns for the O stem subjective and objective. And be sure to use your Oneida Language Department curriculum book as needed. That would be the first 6 months curriculum book. We've covered the A stem and the C stem so far, and so you should be more familiar with the patterns that are found in stems as well as the meaning. So I'm not going to spend as much time on the meaning chart, but I will go over it briefly again for you. Again, background, this is standard. I cover this for every single STEM that I teach to students or learners. What is a pronoun? Because we're learning pronouns here. We're learning subjective and objective pronouns. Just a linguistical reference here. A pronoun is a word that replaces a noun. So we're talking about who. Who are we talking about? So before we can learn verb conjugations, we want to know the pronouns, because the next step is going to be more complex. So this is going to cover and alleviate any of the challenges that we might have in the next step of our learning or our language acquisition, which is verb conjugation. So we talked about a pronoun. All pronouns are prefixes. What is a prefix? Something that is placed before the beginning of a word or a verb. So for Oneida, our stem pronouns are prefixes. They are placed before the verb. So remember, we need to learn to crawl before we can walk. We need to learn to walk before we can run, and so on. So that is just a really good reminder that we are learning the steps, and that's the process of language acquisition. And so when you take those steps, you can learn and acquire the language in order to build proficiency. All right, so a little bit of background. Again, our language has an order of pronouns that follow a pattern that change depending on the stem, but we also call stems verb categories, okay? So that might just help you to understand what we're talking about. So there is a set of pronouns or an order of pronouns that change based on a different pattern of every single stem or every verb category. So each word in Oneida adheres to a certain stem or verb category. Stems include specific pronouns only unique to that stem. We learned the A stem, we learned the C stem. Now we're going to talk about the O stem. There are 8 sets of stems or 8 verb categories in the Oneida language. We learned the A and the C stem. Today we're going to talk about the O stem. There's also the U stem, the fake E, the I, the true E, and the caret stem. So let's move on. Again, the pattern or the meaning chart. There's a pattern system in the meaning chart, which is just the English translations of the pronouns, but it is a way to organize what pronouns we're talking about and the patterns in which we're learning, the patterning system in which we're learning about these pronouns. Okay, so again, patterns, first column, always one subject, second column, 2 subjects, third column is 3 or more subjects. Also, they are related, again, in rows. Okay, so let me go to the next one. Rows, the first one, it is inclusive, me and you and all of us. Me, as a speaker, I'm included in every single one of those. The second row, you two, you all, it is exclusive. As the speaker, I am not included. It's you two, or you all, or all of you. Third row is males, him, 2 males, 3 or more males. The fourth row is females, her, 2 females, or 3 or more females. Always remember, whenever we're talking about females, strictly females. Only with males, 2 or more, or 3 or more, it can be a mixed group, okay? You would still use that pronoun, but if it's always just females, it's only a feminine pronoun. So just remember that. And then our last row has to do with other. It doesn't It just doesn't really have a pattern because it's she or it, me and somebody else, and me and two other people. So the second and third column are kind of related, but the first one is not. So it's just kind of other. And so those are the meanings: me, you, him, her, she or it, me and you two males, two females, me and someone else, all of us, all of you, three or more males, three or more females, me and two other people. Okay, so that's your meaning chart. You should know this without looking at the chart. When you look at the pronouns, I already want you to know the meanings. Okay, so keep learning this meaning chart. If you're not 100% on it, keep practicing, write it down, even in English, because when you learn new pronouns, you should automatically know what they mean based on this standard organized chart of meanings. So we learn subjective and objective pronouns for every stem. We're talking about the O stem today. When and why and how do we use these pronouns? Well, when we use them with a verb or a verb root, they're going to have different types of meanings. So the subjective is a present-like tense. Generally, it represents a habitual or repeated action. The objective also is a present-like tense. Sometimes it represents things happening right in the moment, but sometimes it can represent a recent past tense. So you can read the examples on the screen. It just depends on the verb. This is not a standard. I would say this is more of a rule of thumb, okay? Just to give you some context to why we're learning this, okay? So verbs are really important. Verb conjugations are really important. But before you can get to that, you really have to know the pronouns, because the pronouns are going to set you up for more complex learning and language acquisition later on. So if you skip a step, you're going to be like, oh man, I need that. I need to know those fundamentals. So we are going to take the small, necessary baby steps to get and build that proficiency. Okay, so let's move on. We will start and learn the pronouns for the O stem. And we will talk a little bit about the O stem before we get into the subjective and objective pronouns. So I like the O stem. It does have a few unique characteristics of simply just the O stem. But O stem root words, so remember we talk about roots, they're also interchangeable with the word or term of verb. So root, verb, same thing in Oneida when we're talking about the structure, the linguistical, grammatical things about our language. So O stem root words or verbs will always begin with an O, always, okay? Thus, we call it the O stem. O stem pronouns will be affixed, or they will be the prefix to the O stem root word or verb, okay? So we'll see how and why that happens a little bit later on when we talk about verbs. Right now, this is just FYI. So our language, in the Oneida language, we have 6 vowels. They are A, E, I, O, U, and caret. There's 6, okay? And so every vowel actually has a stem, okay? Remember we talked about the C stem last time. That is the consonant stem. So all the consonants in our language, they adhere to the C stem. So any verb that starts with a consonant, that's C stem. Any verb that starts with an O stem, okay? But remember I said we had 8 stems. Okay, that's only 7 if we have 6 vowels and a C stem for all the consonants. Well, the E vowel has kind of 2, okay? There's a fake E stem, which actually, we'll talk about that later, but then there's a true E stem. So that true E stem is, uses the E, the verbs start with an E, the E vowel, but the fake E is a little bit of a trick stem. I don't want to get into that now to confuse you, but just FYI. So O stem, subjective and objective, has the same pronouns as the U stem. This is a characteristic of the O stem, except the U endings of all the pronouns are replaced with an O. Okay, so the pattern of the O stem, all the pronouns end in an O for the O stem. For the U stem, all the pronouns end in a U. They are exactly the same. You could interchange all of the O's to U's and you'll have the U stem. You change all the U's to O's, you'll have the O stem. So we kind of call them like sister stems. They're similar, but they're still different. They're unique in their own, and they are their own stem, but they have and share they share the same patterns minus the O and the U. Okay, so just keep that in mind. It makes this easier to acquire. So in the Oneida language, both the subjective and objective have different pronouns associated with that stem. However, the meanings of those pronouns always stay the same. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Why are stems so important? Because not only do they give you an overview of the patterning system of how our verbs conjugate, but they indicate who the word is referring to. So when you talk about a verb or a verb conjugation or a command like study, who are you talking about? Za, the SA in study is you. It's talking about you. You sit. Okay. So that's what we want to know. We want to know who we're talking about. And so our language has all of those components. One word represents a whole sentence. It represents the subject, who, it represents the action or what is going on, and it also represents the tense, if not more things sometimes. So that is why it's important. And so let's move on. Like I had mentioned, all of our stem pronouns are prefixes. It means that they go in the beginning of a verb root. They are attached to the root verb, the root word, aka verb. So you can see it right here. I just want to like outline and show you visually what that looks like. So for the U stem, this is my common example I use. Gu is me, ungwe hu is the root or the verb to be onaida. Gu and ungwe hu, you put that together, it's gungwe hu, it means I'm onaida. But you see that gu is at the beginning, okay? So I wanted you to see that and how they're prefixes. All right, so let's get into our subjective and objective pronouns. I will read them first, and I want you to repeat them to practice the pronunciation, okay? So I will start with the top left. Always start in the first column, go down, second column, go down, third column, go down. This helps you get used to the patterning system, and it keeps it a standard for our learners, okay? So let's start with the first one. Go, zo, low, ya go, yo, no, snow, no, gno, yugno, dio, jo, lano, guno, yugyo. So our meanings, go is me, zo is you, lo is him, yogo is her, yo is an older she or it. Second column, no is me and you, snow is you two, no is two males, gno, two females, yugno, me and someone else, dio, all of us, jo, all of you, lano, three or more males, guno, three or more females, yugyo, me and two or more other people. All right, that's our subjective. Let's do the objective. I'll say it, and then I want you to repeat it. Wago, zo, lao, yagao, yao, yungno, snow, lono, yono, yungno, yungyo, jo, lono, yono, yungyo. Meanings, wago is me, zo is you, lao is him, yagao is her, a younger her, yao, older she or it, yungno, me and you, snow is you two, lono, two males, yono, two females, yungno is me and somebody else, yungyo is all of us, jo is all of you. Remember, TSY is a J sound, so this is why the sound practice is important. Lono, three or more males, yono, three or more females, yungyo, me and two or more other people. All right. Subjective and objective pronouns. I'm going to go through both of them back to back. I'm going to start with the first one in the first column and then go through the second and the third, and then I'm just going to go into the objective. I want you to practice again the pronunciation, say them after me, and this will get you more familiar with the pronouns and the pronunciation. Go, zo, lo, ya go, yo, no, snow, no, gno, yugno, dio, jo, lano, guno, yugyo, wago, zo, lao, yagao, yao, yungno, snow, lono, yono, yungno, yungyo, jo, lono, yono, yungyo. All right. So let's talk about these pronouns patterns. Let's talk about the patterns. Let's look at both the subjective and objective. What patterns do you see? So take a look at them. We look at the subjective side. What patterns do you see in the subjective? Look at the objective. Patterns do you see in the objective? What patterns do you see between both? What's the common ending do you see in the second column? Third column. What else? Take a look at them. I want you to develop critical thinking skills in the language because it's going to really come in handy because there's always mysteries of our language, okay? So when you find a word and you don't know how to identify the root, or when you are trying to figure out something in our language, it's these types of critical thinking skills, looking at patterns, looking at what is similar, what is different, that helps you later on when you come to things you're not quite sure of. It helps to develop that skill so that you can continue your learning. It's just really helpful. Critical thinking, although also is a part of our cultural ways. So that is a huge part of our philosophical and intellectual capabilities as Oneida people, is developing deep critical thinking skills in understanding an issue or a matter from all sides, okay? So same thing with our stems. All right, let's go through the pronoun patterns of the subjective. I'll move my little screen here so you can see the title. Okay, first column. K something is always me in the subjective for the O stem. It's go. Remember, A stem it was ga, C stem it was K, O stem it's go. That's huge. Okay, now you can see the pattern. K in the subjective side of any stem, K something is always B. Okay, S's usually reference you, especially in the first column. So S something is always going to indicate you in the subjective. So remember in the A stem it was za, C stem it's S, O stem it's zo. So that's the pattern. L's usually indicate males, Y's usually indicate females. We have lo and yago. Second column, what's their common ending? No, N-O. You see that in no, snow, no, gno, yagno. I have it highlighted because I want you to see that. What's common ending in the third? It is yo. You see it in dio, you see it in jo, you see it in yagyo. All right. It's not in every single one. It's in 3 of them. All of us, all of you, and me and 2 of my others. Also, this is a unique pattern to the O stem. Notice, this is a big one. Notice how all of the pronouns end in an O for the entire subjective. All of them. Every single pronoun ends in an O. That's important. Not every stem is like that. This is unique only to the O stem. So just FYI. Some stems have their own unique patterns that are different from other stems. So this is one of them. Okay, let's talk about the objective. In the first column, a W-A-K something, wuggo, is always going to indicate me in the objective. A stem it was wugga, C stem it was wug, O stem is wuggo. Okay, S something usually indicates you in the objective. This case it's zo. L's usually reference males, Y's usually reference females. We have lao and yagao. Also, this isn't not like a pattern, but it's just something to be aware of. Notice him, her, and an older she or it. They all have this AO, lao, yagao, yao. That's kind of a unique thing only to the O stem objective. So just FYI. Oops, sorry, I went too fast. Okay, objective. Notice the no, N-O ending in the second column. It's only in 3 of them though. It's in yungno, snow, and yungno. Okay. Remember 2 males and 3 or more males in the second and third columns, exactly the same pronoun. Lono, lono. Same with the females, second and third column, pronouns are exactly the same. Yono, yono. Remember the top and the bottom. That would be me and you, me and someone, exactly the same pronoun. Yungno, yungno. Third column, again, common ending from the subjective follows to the objective in yungyo, jo, and yungyo. So that ending yo still present. Top and bottom are the same. Yungyo and yungyo. All of us, me and 2 or more others. Okay. And we already talked about second and third column, 2 or 3 or more males the same thing with the females. Notice also how all of the pronouns in the objective end in an O. They end in an O in the subjective and the objective. All pronouns for all of the O stem end in an O. That is a pattern unique only to the O stem. There's one other thing I was going to mention here. We're actually going to talk about this on the next slide. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, patterns between both. All right. We already talked about L's usually reference males, not the same pronoun, but still an L. Okay, for the first columns of the subjective objective, lo, lao. Y's reference females, yago, yagao. Okay, similar but different. Notice how yugno in the subjective changes to a yuk, yungno in the objective. Remember, yak always changes to a yuk when it goes to the objective. Same spot, and then we know the top is the same, so that's helpful. Notice how you two, and you all pronouns are exactly the same. Zo, snow, jo. Zo, snow, jo. All of them are exactly the same. Common ending of no in the second column, same common ending in the second column in the objective. Yo, common ending in the third column, same in the objective. Okay, so that continues, but yugyo changes to yungyo, and the top is the same. So keep that in mind. And lastly, every single pronoun in the subjective and objective end in an O. That is a unique pattern of the O stem. And I'll continue to say it because it's that important. If I keep repeating it, it's important. So O stem, also, this is going to be like a little bit of foreshadowing for when we talk about the U stem in the next video. The U stem, O stem, subjective and objective, has the same pronouns as the U stem, except the U's are replaced with O's, okay? So if we took this O stem and instead of writing all O's, all the pronouns end in all O's, and we put U's, you would have the U stem. So it's the exact same patterns except U. So it's going to be really easy to learn the next one also, okay? This is how many we've learned. Well, we haven't done the U stem yet, but shortly. These are the first 4 stems that we usually teach people in the first 6 months curriculum. You've learned the A stem, you've learned the C stem, you've learned the O stem. So look at all the pronouns in blue. You can see that pattern of a K something, ga, K, and go, and then it'll be gu in the U stem. All right, we see the pattern. It's good to see that because I want you to see visually and also hear it. Oh, okay. It's just slight changes when we're talking about different verbs or conjugating different verbs. Same thing with the objective. Objective is W-A-K something. Waga is the A stem. Wug is the C stem. Wago is the O stem, and it's going to be wagu in the U stem. So, okay, you can kind of see it now. Similar, but different. And so we've learned a lot of pronouns thus far. With the 3 stems, A, C, and the O, that is 75. So you are building your proficiency and building your knowledge of the language. So that's great. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so here is our pronouns again. Let's talk about a little bit of review. So let me see if I can get my little pen here so that I can practice writing these with you. I'm going to do this on the screen, but I want you to follow along, and as I talk and go over them, I want you to think of what the pronoun is. You can also do this along with me. Grab a sheet of paper, make a little chart, 3 columns, 5 rows, and grab a pen and do this with me. Do this every day, even when you're not watching the video. Do this as part of your studying. So studying isn't always just reading it over. It's actually creating activities for yourself to review things, to review these charts, to review these pronouns. Self-studying is challenging yourself to learn it different ways, learn in other ways. Maybe you can come up with other activities. Maybe you can come up with a game. That would be great. I'm trying to get my little pen here on the screen, but it keeps giving me my tab. So give me 1 second to try to grab this. Let me see here. We will also do another few activities after these two charts for the subjective and objective. Oh, that's not it. Oh, here it is. Okay, great. I found it. Okay, so I got my little pen, so we'll do this activity together. Okay, so K something is always me in the subjective. Remember, this is go. Now, remember the pattern is S something is always you in the O stem subjective. So what is the pronoun? It's going to be zo. L's reference males, and so the pronoun is lo, L-O, okay? Y's reference females for our next one, because we're talking about a younger her in this spot for the first column. It's going to start with a Y. Pronoun is, write it on your sheet, yago. Okay, so I'm guiding this activity on the video right now, but if you have your book, you can do this without your book, do it in a notebook, and then check it in the book after. But I want you to try to do it without the chart, because that's going to challenge yourself. Think of ways you can challenge yourself. Okay, so we have go, zo, lo, yago, older she or it, yo. Okay, we know that the common ending in the second column, they're all going to end with an N-O. Me and you is no. Okay, so if you want to, you can write the common ending right up here, dash N-O, because they're all going to end in that. You too, whoa, sorry, snow. Okay, so we have no, snow. Now it's just the ending for two males or them. We can say them when we start conjugating verbs. But know that when you use no, it's talking about two males or a male and a female or a mixed group. Okay, so we have no, snow, no. Two males is, or sorry, two females, gno, K-N-O. And then me and someone is yug, no. And that is our second column. Woohoo. They all end in an N-O. All right, let's do the third column. We know that 3 of the pronouns are going to have this ending of yo. Okay, that's going to be all of us, all of you, and me and 2 or more others. First pronoun for all of us or we, inclusive, dio, dio. Second pronoun for you all or all of you, jo, T-S-Y-O. 3 or more males, a little different here. Pronoun is lano. The best way I can say in remembering these is just studying them. You'll notice too, there's kind of a little pattern between stems. In the A stem, it was lu and gu. C stem, it was luddy goody. In the in the O stem, it's lano and guno for the subjective. So you can kind of see a little bit of a pattern. It's a little different, but not exactly the same. So that's why I don't want to put a label on what type of pattern it is, because it's not like really exactly something, but you get a familiarity with how the pronouns change. So we have dio, jo, lano, guno, and then we have yog, yo, Y-A-K-Y-O. Okay. So we see our endings no in the second column. We see our ending yo in the third column for our 3 pronouns. All right, so that's subjective. Let's do the objective here. Get to my next one. All right, so we have wuggo, that's me. S is reference you in the subjective side, wuggo, zo. And remember, you too, you all are exactly the same. Okay, let's go to him. L's reference males, so our pronoun is lao. Y's reference females, different pronoun than the subjective though. And remember we kind of talked about this AO being kind of in these 3. It's going to still be there. Lao, yagao. Sorry, that's crazy. Oh, yagao is the pronoun for younger she. And then we have yao, the older she or it. Y-A-O. Whoa, sorry, my O's are getting crazy here. Okay, that's our first column. Wuggo, zo, lao, yagao, yao. Remember that this top is the same as the bottom. Okay, that's our pattern. Sometimes you can just make little symbols on the chart to help you remember the pattern. Remember, these two are the same. These two are the same. Remember that this and this are also the same. So that's our pattern. That takes care of the last two columns for us. Now, let's start at the bottom. I did this last time. I usually don't, but I just want you to get familiar with the patterns. Eventually, start at the top. Okay, on the subjective side, it was yugno, because remember the ending, not in every pronoun, but 3 of them. For the objective side, end in a no, they end in a yo for 3 of them on the third column. Okay, so subjective side, it was yugno. Remember the Y-A-K changes to Y-U-K. Yung. So yug changes to yung. Yungno. Yungno, sorry. Yungno, Y-U-K. N-O. And then our top and bottom are the same. That takes care of this pronoun for us. Me and you, also yungno. Okay. You too is exactly the same on the subjective side, and that was snow. Now we know that these two pronouns are the same. Pronoun was lono, and we can just fill in that on the other side here. Lono and lono. Cool, cool, cool. And then we have yono for 2 females and yono. Awesome. Okay. So our second column is yungno, snow, lono, yono, yungno. Okay, this should be easy. Finishing our third column, we have yo for the ending. And remember, on the subjective side, it was yugyo. Now it's yungyo, yungyo. Seems like a little thing, but it's important because when you get to verb conjugations, it's going to indicate who and which type of tense. It's going to indicate your meaning really for you, because your objective and subjectives are going to be a little different when you get to verb conjugations. And sometimes it comes down to the pronoun. So if you see yugyo or if you see yungyo, that is going to really tell you what that verb is meaning based on which side it's coming from, subjective or objective. So that's a little far ahead, but I just want you to know why those are important. So yungyo is the pronoun for me and 2 or more others. Remember, it's the same at the top. So I'm doing it at the bottom right now, but the next video, I'm going to start doing it at the top. So you should be doing it at the top. I just want you to really get familiar with the pronouns. So again, it's yungyo, yungyo. That's an O. Yungyo, and then same on the subjective side, which was jo. Okay. So we already pretty much have our third column done. It was already done for us. So yungyo, jo, lono, yono, yungyo. So our pronouns for the whole chart: wago, zo, lao, yagao, yao, yungno, sno, lono, yono, yungno, yungyo, jo, lono, yono, yungyo. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Let's go to our next activity. So I'm not going to do this one, but we did them individually, and I would do this together because sometimes it's easier to see them side by side. I think maybe the next video, I'll just do them side by side so you can see the patterns. It'll be easier. Do them individually, do them together, whatever way you have to, do it all, because it's really going to help you get more familiar with the pronouns. Remember, they're just incredibly important in terms of language acquisition. To build proficiency, you have to have a base in understanding the stems and the patterning system of every single stem in our language. Okay, so that is this. You can do this same thing too. Start and write down the first one already from the book, but eventually work your way to not doing it without any pronouns. Okay, and eventually you're working on writing them right now. Eventually, I want you to just orally review them. So I wouldn't even do no charts, and I would just say, okay, go, zo, lo, yo, go, yo, no, sno, no, gno, yug, no, dio, jo, lano, guno, yugyo. Or I would even challenge yourself to do them backwards. Yugyo, guno, lano, jo, dio, and try to do it backwards too. Do it all different ways because it's going to get you more familiar with the pronouns. It seems a little tricky, but the more you press, the more you challenge your brain to do that, the more flexible and open and the more expertise you get in the language. So important. Okay, let's do another little activity here. Let me see if I can move this up a little bit. I'm not sure if you can see it, but let's do a little bit of individual pronoun review. So you can grab a sheet of paper to do this. I'm going to do a few. I'm going to jump around because I'm not going to do them all. I have like a bunch of slides to do all of them, but I just want you to practice this. This is an activity you can do on your own with yourself or your family or whoever is learning this based on this video. So individual pronoun review. Yep, we did the charts. We know the patterns. We know the meanings, but you got to know the pronouns individually also. And so I'm going to give you a meaning or I'm going to give you a pronoun and I want you to give me the opposite. So let's first start with the pronouns. So I think I'll write them on here a few times. And then I want you to just orally say them. So you could start by doing this activity with yourself. You could write them in response or eventually just say them. That would be good too, because orally, when you speak, you're not writing things down. You're just saying it right off the top of your head. So I want you to know this in your head. 2 females. So I'm looking for the pronoun for 2 females. Subjective pronoun, 2 females. What is the pronoun? You can say it or you can write it down. It's gno. All right. Let's go to the next one. Actually, let's go a few down here. Let's do me and you. So we're looking for a subjective pronoun, me and you. What is the answer? You can say it or you can write it down. I'll write it on here and you can check and see if it's right. Pronoun is no. T-N-O. All right, let's do a couple more on the subjective side. I'm going to jump around. I'll just pick one. Let's do this one. Subjective pronoun for 2 males. 2, so that means it's coming from the second column. That'll help you out. No, N-O. That's the pronoun. All right, let's do a couple more. Let's do this one. Okay, so we have me and 2 or more other people, subjective pronoun. So this has got to be the third column. We're talking about 3 or more people. It's definitely going to be the last one in the third column. This is the answer, so you can say it or you can write it down. Yug-yo. That's our answer. All right, let's do like one more in the subjective. Let's do this one. Okay, so I'm looking for the subjective pronoun in the O stem, 3 or more females. What is the pronoun? Remember, all your pronouns end in an O, so make sure that that is there. Guno. That's your pronoun. All right, let's go to the objective. I'm going to skip around a little bit here. Let's do him. 1 subject, him. Objective pronoun for him. L's reference males. Objective side, Lao. All right, let's move on to, let's do this one too. 3 or more males. Objective pronoun. Pronoun is Lono. L-O-N-O. That's our pronoun. All right. Let's go to, let's do this one. Me and you. Objective pronoun for me and you. What is the pronoun? Write it or say it. I'll write the answer and I'll say it. Yungno. Me and you. All right, let's go to let's do this one. So objective, you too. What's the pronoun? Say it or write it down. Check the screen. Answer is snow. Don't worry too much if you're taking longer. I know I'm kind of going through this a little fast. This is just a informational video. If you're taking longer and you're still thinking, that's okay. Take your time. Take your time. If you have to and you're watching this video, pause it. And then take the time you need to go through it. I'm just recording this right now, so I'm just kind of working through this at a normal pace. But eventually, I want you to train your brain to become faster, okay? So just like how we speak English, I don't have to think about it. I can just say it. I want the language to become second nature to you, and that is the entire intention behind these lessons and these activities, to start to get that wheel turning a little bit faster every time you do this. Let's do this one. This is objective for you, for all of you or you all. What is the pronoun? Joe. T-S-Y-O. Joe. All right, let's do this one. We'll do one more. Objective pronoun for a younger her. Wise reference females. Pronoun is yagao. Yagao is the pronoun. All right, so I have another little activity. I think I'm done with writing the pronouns. So I gave you the meaning. I gave you the subjective or objective. Now we're going to do the opposite. So I'm going to go a little faster here. So it just says open. You can, if you want to use an iPad, I used to do this with high school kids. So we would use our iPads and I would have them just draw it or write it on their iPad. But do this if you have a sheet of paper, just grab a sheet of paper and write it. You don't have to write it. You can just say it if you want to. That's fine too. I want you to write the meaning of the pronoun and I want you to write or indicate if it's subjective or objective. So let's do basically the opposite activity of what we were doing. Okay, so this is our first pronoun, wuggo. First of all, ask yourself, is this subjective or is it objective? So you can just write like sub or ub, or A, B, J, or S or O is fine too. This is a objective pronoun, okay? What's the meaning? You can say it or you can write it. It's me. It means me. All right, let's go to another one. That's basically the activity. I'm just going to go a couple more here. Yuggo, yuggo. O stem is a subjective or objective? S for subjective. What is the meaning? You can say it or you can write it. Her or younger her. Okay. Let's go do a couple more. Let's do dio. Dio. Subjective or objective? Subjective. What does it mean? Write it or say it. All of us. All of us. All of us. Subjective. Cool. Let's move on. I'm gonna pick a different one here. Let's do this one. This is a good one. Okay, so we have yono. Is this subjective or objective? Subjective. What's the meaning? You can say it or you can write it. It has two meanings, okay? So this is, I don't want to say it's a trick, but I just want you to be aware that sometimes it can be more than one. So it's not a trick question, it just might have more than one answer. So it's either two females or it's three or more females. So I just wrote 2 or 3 plus F. So females, okay? So that is that pronoun. I want to do, let's do a couple more here. Let's do this one. Gno, gno, K-N-O. Subjective or objective? Subjective. Meaning? To females. And remember, it's always strictly females when we're talking about the females. All right. So I think that's as far as I'm going to go with that activity. So there's a few different options of what you can do to help yourself study. You can write the charts out. You can fill that in, give yourself a blank chart, or write yourself a blank chart. What I used to have when I first started learning is I would make a language binder, and I would have like blank sheets or blank charts. What I also would do is I would make copies of the tables in the book. I would print them out and I would cut them up. I would cut all the pronouns up individually, and I would put them in order on like my desk as I was studying, because I wanted to reinforce the patterns. I wanted to learn the pattern. So I already had the pronouns in front of me, but I put them in order based on the pattern. And my brain just got really acclimated to the patterns. So that's just another activity you can do to help yourself study and learn. So we did a couple here on the video today too. But just for review, the learners should know the O stem subjective pronouns, the O stem objective pronouns. I want you to know the associated meanings of both of those sets of pronouns in the subjective and objective. And I want you to know the patterns of the meanings and the pronouns. All right. So that is it for today. I will see you in the next video. The next video will cover the U stem. All right. So toginik, onugiwa.